What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back for an opposition preview. We've got Dan Bardell of 1874, the Aston Villa channel, as seen on TalkSport, as seen on Sky Sports as well, to join us to preview this massive top four clash. Aston Villa against Tottenham, 1 p.m. kickoff at Villa Park on Sunday. Dan, thanks for coming on. How are you today, mate?
Yeah, really good. It's almost a shame that we have to wait that extra day for the game at the weekend, isn't it? Because it feels so big, it feels really huge. And I think it's going to be a good game for the neutral as well. Two teams that play really nice football, that have got great managers that just get the fan base and get the club that they're at. So I think whatever happens Sunday, it'll be a brilliant game.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And I wanted to get your opinion first and foremost on Spurs. Like, Ange Postecoglou is coming in the summer. How do you feel like he's progressed Spurs so far? And from an outside looking in, how do you think Spurs are doing right now?
Yeah, brilliant. Look, I never would have had Spurs down to be challenging for the top four at this point of the season. I think when I did my pre-season predictions, I think I had Spurs at around 7th behind. I think I had Villa 5th, Newcastle 6th, Spurs 7th. I just thought losing Harry Kane, it would be difficult for him to come in and make an impact straight away, albeit that you could say that he was going to be a manager that Spurs had bought into and that he was going to be there for the long haul. But actually, you know, you factor in injuries and stuff like that, you actually could be higher had you had a bit more luck with injuries. So I think you've been a really good watch this season. I think Postecoglou is such a refreshing manager, that the way he speaks in his press conferences, the way he speaks to the media, and just the way he manages his players as well. I think he's been a breath of fresh air to the Premier League. And Spurs are a side I've really enjoyed watching this season. I think, you know, the way they use their fullbacks, the way they build it from the back and play through the lines, can interchange in attack as well. I think Postecoglou's got the best out of a lot of players that were already there. I think that's the sign of a good manager, when you're not having to completely change everything at the football club. You're getting the best out of players that are already in the building, using everything that's at your disposal. So yeah, I've really enjoyed watching Tottenham this season.
Hey, Aston Villa, of course, been having a great season themselves. Currently 5 points clear of Tottenham in that top four race going into that game, which makes this game even bigger. For you, what's the sense for Villa fans going into this game? Are you feeling like it's a must not lose, or do you feel like to put yourselves as big favourites for that position, you need to go and win this game on Sunday?
Look, it always depends on the tail of the game, doesn't it? If Villa go behind or find themselves 2-0 down and were to get back and get a point, obviously, that's a good result. I think a point would be a better result for Villa than it would be for Tottenham. It kind of keeps them at arm's length. Tottenham's game in hand is against Chelsea, a team that the Spurs haven't done well at over the years. So we do know that. But if Villa could win this game, and by and large, we've been really good at home under Unai Emery, having that 8-point gap with Spurs with the game in hand, you would then make Villa clear favourites for 4th. And it may be that 5th ends up getting Champions League football anyway. But I'd like to cement 4th and not have to worry about things like that going into the end of the season.
Yeah, Dan, thanks for reminding us about our record at Stamford Bridge. But I think, you know, you had quite a taxing game last night in Amsterdam, 0-0 against Ajax, or Pau Torres going off at half-time. I saw Unai Emery said that it wasn't a recurring injury. He was always just planning to play 45 minutes. But do you think a game like that could have an impact in the game this weekend?
Yeah, look, we aren't in a position at the moment where we can make wholesale changes. In Europe, we rested a few players like John McGinn. I don't think we were at full tilt last night against Ajax. I think 0-0 is a decent result to take into a home leg next week. But you did kind of get the impression that one eye was on the game on Sunday, because we all know how big it is. I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned Pau Torres. He's huge for Villa. Seeing him get a 45-minute planned run out last night was really good for Villa fans to see. I can't overstate enough what a good footballer he is and how much of a different side Villa are when Pau Torres is in the team. And it sounds bizarre to say, but they're a better team going forward when Pau Torres is in the team. His passing range and the stuff that he sees from centre-back, it's almost like having a ball-playing number 6 playing at centre-back for you. And I'd expect him to start that game, having come through that 45 minutes. I don't think he's lost a game since October, November playing for Villa. Villa have got a really good record when he's been in the team. So him being there is huge. And if I see him on the team sheet on Sunday, I automatically feel a lot more confident.
Obviously, you had that incredible home record that you were talking about during the season. I think up until the Arsenal game, what was it, 17 wins in a row? I think that was the figure going after you beat Arsenal. Since that game, though, there have been a few bumps in the road, I think it's fair to say, at home since that game. I know you won your last game against Nottingham Forest, but even in that one, you were 3-0 up and they got it back to 3-2 and they had a few chances at 3-2 and it could have gone a different way. Is there any feeling that things are starting to slow down in your home form, or do you just feel like maybe some of the results you've gotten since the Arsenal game have been maybe undeserved?
I think we just went through a sticky patch. You'll know from your season as well. Once you get a few injuries in key positions, when you're a team that's in Villa's and Tottenham's position, it can become difficult. You will lose games. And what Villa were doing at home was absolutely incredible, nearly going 12 months with winning every game. At home, that was never going to carry on. At some point, they were going to draw a game or lose a game. That's exactly what happened. But I think going into this game now, we feel in a better place than we have done for maybe the last 3 or 4 weeks. Things felt a little bit patchy, albeit we were still picking up wins here and there. So although we were on a bit of a difficult run, it wasn't that we weren't getting results. It was just that what we were doing beforehand was absolutely ridiculous. So I feel like we have sorted that out a little bit now. It feels like we've gone back to how we were before Christmas, when we were just kind of grinding out results. We were turning up at home and just winning every week. It was an amazing feeling to just go to Villa Park and feel like you were going to win every single week, whoever you were playing against. I don't know whether you saw the Manchester City and Arsenal games, but to win those 2 home games back to back, and the way we played against Manchester City, just completely dominating them as well, I just thought, wow, this is one of the best Villa teams that I've ever seen. Not many teams can go and do that against Manchester City, but it feels like we've just clicked into gear again. In recent weeks, it feels like the players have got their mindset back of just, if they need to, if they're not playing well, grinding out those results. So I think for Spurs, there was probably a better time to play us at Villa Park than there is now, albeit we're not at the levels we were at before Christmas at Villa Park.
How do you feel that Villa are going to set up this weekend? Because you've seen that obviously Villa have played a high line for the majority of the season, but you've seen against Spurs can hurt high lines with Heung-min Son leading the attack as the number 9. Do you feel like Unai Emery will come up with a particular set of plans for Tottenham this weekend, maybe potentially go to a 3 at the back, because that's also a formation that Spurs have struggled against this season? Or do you think Unai Emery will stick to his guns, high line, 4 at the back?
He has actually adapted the high line a little bit over the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's more of a mid block now. Villa aren't as high as they were in the first half of the season. I think that, again, that's the sign of a good manager, that you've got your principles, but you can adapt and tweak little things week to week. And I think that's something that Unai Emery is really, really good at. Even the way the goalkeeper distributes Martinez, it'll change on a weekly basis. Against Luton, we went quite direct, whereas normally we would just play it out to the centre-backs and build it from the back. It's interesting you mentioned the 3 at the back, because that's Unai Emery's preference in build-up play. We will always line up in an off-the-ball 4-4-2, but on the ball, it always is a back 3, but how we make that changes week to week. I think what we saw last night against Ajax was a little insight into what we'll do against Tottenham, with Konsa playing right back, Longlet playing right centre back, and then Pau Torres at left centre back, and then the left back pushing right on. Now, having a left footer at right centre back obviously is always something that for some reason is frowned upon as a football fan. You always look at it and think that doesn't look right, but if you see a right footer playing left centre back, you don't really complain about it. But it enables Konsa to come in as that right centre back. Longlet shifts into the middle on the ball, and then Pau Torres has kind of got the freedom from the left to distribute as he sees fit. So I think we will see Villa do that, which might disappoint Tottenham fans a little bit, because I know they're keen to see Matty Cash playing at right back this weekend.
We most definitely are, yeah.
Some retribution is in order. I think we've been waiting since that game in October probably to see Matty Cash again.
Not just him, Romero's been waiting as well.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play.
What, as a Villa fan, what do you make of all that stuff about Matty Cash? Because obviously it's all borne out because, first of all, he's injured, I think, first Matt Doherty for a long time, then obviously Bentancur, who had taken so long to come back, got that bad injury. Obviously, football happens and challenges happen and injuries happen, but there was a lot made of that challenge from Matty Cash back in, early November time. And as a Villa fan watching it, do you just feel like it's all a bit ridiculous?
I can understand it to an extent because, look, if it happens the other way around, I think Villa fans on social media are probably reacting in the exact same way that Tottenham fans are acting. I will say I don't think he's a malicious, dirty player. I think I think the Benton Kerr one, it was mistimed. I don't think he came in with any intention to hurt him. And for you guys, that was unfortunate. I think that changed the game that day as well, because I felt he was running the midfield that day. He was having a really, really strong game, and then maybe the game changed in our direction when he went off the pitch, and obviously we went on to win at your place that day. The thing I find funny about it is that, like, you're almost laying into Matty Cash for the tackle, but then it's almost like the revenge element with Romero, like he never makes bad tackles. That's the element I find strange with it. But I get it, because I think that's just football fans, and I think Villa fans would probably be acting in the same way. But I do find it funny that it's like it's not okay for Matty Cash to make that tackle, but if Romero was to do that at him at the weekend, that's all right.
And I'm sure the narrative would be the same from your fan base if Romero goes in for a crunching tackle and, injures one of your players, or, it'll be the same either way, I think, in my opinion. But you mentioned Clement Longlet before. Obviously, he's a player that was on the Spurs books last season. I think the majority of the Spurs fan base probably happy to see the back of him. What's the narrative on him from the Villa fan base?
I think he has suffered because he's had to come in at a time when Pau Torres has been out. He hadn't really played other than cup games until Pau Torres got injured at Christmas, and then Longlet has had to come in for Pau Torres. And I don't think Longlet's a bad player at all. In fact, I think he's been a good defender for us. But unfortunately for him, he isn't Pau Torres. But then anyone coming in isn't going to be Pau Torres. And Longlet was an emergency signing for us, really, because Tyrone Mings got ruled out for the rest of the season in the first game. So Longlet was brought in as an emergency cover. And I think in that situation Villa were in, I don't think they could have got anyone in better as a short term, oh my God, we need someone. I think he's been good. I think he's actually growing week in, week out. I don't think he's got any attribute that you'd say as a defender he's brilliant at that. But I think he's been solid in most aspects that you need from a modern day centre half. So actually, I've been pretty happy with him, and I think he stays in the team now. Now Pau Torres is back. I think he's maybe played himself in ahead of Diego Carlos, and it works quite nicely with him being in the middle of that back three. So, look, I don't think anyone was good in Spurs' defence at the back end of last season. I don't think he would have been alone, but I think maybe the thing that's different between the Longlet of last season and the Longlet that's playing for us is he's coming in to a defined system. And actually, if you'd have had Longlet this season with a defined system under Postecoglou, you'd have probably thought he was a lot better defender than he did last season.
Talking about, obviously, what you're aiming for from now to the end of the season, obviously, you've still got so... Apologies.
Fancy an ice cream, Dan?
Yeah, maybe from now to the end of the season, you can get how many ice creams you're going to have. Maybe I think that's the question. But I think, obviously, you're still in the Conference League. You're in the top four race at the moment. Are you aware of the narrative of kind of Unai Emery's career? He's always kind of prioritised European trophies at this stage of the season over like his league form. And a lot of the times, if you look at where he's been at Sevilla, Villarreal, and I remember Arsenal as well, more often than not, he has kind of he's been going well in the league, and then he's kind of sacrificed that for a deep run in Europe. And most of the time, it pays off because he usually wins the cup. It usually means for a downturn of form in Europe. If that was to happen this season, and you don't end up winning the conference, let's say you lose in the final and you end up dropping out the top four, would there be a lot of not disappointed? Would there be any sort of ire towards Emery if that was to be the case? For you, would you rather get top four than win the Conference League?
Yeah, speaking for myself, and not all Villa fans feel the same way that I do. I think the top four is the priority as a football club. You'll know from being Spurs fans that what being in the Champions League does for you as a football club would outweigh what it would do for Villa if they won the Conference League. Now, you haven't won a trophy since 2008, I think it is, and you're desperate for a trophy. We haven't won anything since 1996, and I've been desperate for that trophy as well, because I was 10 the last time that we won anything. But unfortunately, in modern day football and the way football is, playing in the Champions League is the pinnacle. And that's what I want Villa to be doing. I watched Newcastle at the start of the season and I was so envious of them. And I've just dreamed what Champions League nights would be like at Villa Park. I will say that we've actually been better when we've had the Thursday, Sunday load, bizarrely. For some reason, I don't know whether it's just because Emery is used to for that manner of games, having the Thursday, Sunday, but we've actually picked up better results when we've had Thursday, Sunday. But I think because of the quality of the Conference League not being that great, I think if you look at it, you would say we're probably the best team left in the competition.
Yeah.
Although we've not got the squad, I think we can manage minutes. So I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I think we can go a long way in the Conference League and still do what we're doing in the league and push towards the top four. But me personally, I put way more credence on the top four because getting that would be massive for holding on to players, massive for revenue, and massive for the manager as well because he spoke about he wants to operate in the Champions League. And I think this is the difference with Emery now to maybe the Emery at other clubs. He's been gunning for the Europa League, hasn't he? Which gets Champions League football. The Conference League doesn't get you that. Finishing fourth does. So I think in his mind, although he puts great credence on the European football, he will know top four is more important for Villa.
So how do you see the game going? How do you think Villa are going to set up? What's your predicted lineup and predicted scoreline for the game this weekend?
I mean, I'm never going to come on other than a Villa win. I think it'll be the same result as last season. I think Villa will win 2-1, but I can't say enough being on the Spurs podcast. What a good watch you've been this season. I think you're a brilliant side. You've got some brilliant players. I really like the centre back pairing. I love the fullbacks. I think Pedro Porro has been one of the players of the season across the entirety of the Premier League. And I've said on other shows that I do and got laughed at, but I've said that I don't think Porro's been too far away from Trent Alexander-Arnold in terms of performances this season and importance to a team. And him not being there, although you've picked up results, I think that's made a huge difference for you. And I think he'll probably be back at the weekend against Villa.
Yeah, he's confirmed
Maddison's a player. Yeah, Maddison's always a player that does well against Villa. He's a Coventry fan and he loves rubbing the Villa fans' noses in it when he plays well against us. So I know it's going to be a difficult game, but I think being at home, the fact we've won the last 3 in a row potentially against you as well. We've already beat you this season. Ollie Watkins is on sensational form. Douglas Luiz, John McGinn are on sensational form. Leon Bailey is a different player this season. I think we've got a lot going for us this season and it feels like we're about to kick on at home again. I might feel differently if it was an away game at this point, but at home, I would back us to beat anyone because pretty much over Emery's time, we have beat pretty much everyone. So yeah, I'll go for a narrow 2-1 Villa win.
Interesting.
What and you spoke about Watkins just there, about how unbelievable form he's in. Like, I was it 16 goals and 10 assists this season. It's mad to think about. If you cast your mind back to like a year ago, maybe not a year ago, maybe like 18 months ago, there was a debate who should start, Danny Ings or Watkins. There was a whole like, should it be Ings? I remember every week you were like toing and froing, and now it's like, I can't believe there was even a debate. Like, for you, the form he's in, is it a case of enjoy it while it lasts with him? Is there any fear his head might be turned if you don't make it into that top four this season? Or do you think like, we're a big enough club to, be having someone like Ollie Watkins as a star striker for many years to come?
Yeah, that debate's mad. I remember when we sold Danny Ings and there was Villa fans saying that we sold the wrong striker, and I completely disagree. I completely disagreed with that at the time. I've always been a big backer of Watkins. I think it's so hard to get in a centre forward and get it right. You guys will know you've probably not bought in a proper centre forward at this point, but you will at some point. But it's really, really difficult to get right. And I was saying I don't think Villa can do any better than Ollie Watkins for where they want to be. And now we're in the top four. I still don't think that we can get in a better striker than Ollie Watkins. I think his numbers this season speak for themselves, and the body of work since Unai Emery has arrived at the football club, his record is unbelievable. And I think Unai Emery deserves a hell of a lot of credit for refining his game, and I think Watkins deserves a lot of credit for taking on what Unai Emery wants. And it does feel sustainable. As long as Unai Emery's there, I don't think you'll see these performances drop. And I think the good thing for Villa and Spurs now is, back in the day, if you've got a good player, I think some of the teams across the Premier League can come and pick your best players off, and it's happened to you over the years, and it's happened to Villa as well. I don't think that's the case anymore. Obviously, there's Man City, but I don't think teams can just come and take players from Villa and Spurs now. So for what Watkins is doing, I think he is the second best striker in the Premier League at the moment. The numbers dictate that, and I think he's a certainty to be on the plane for the Euros now as well. And I think he's got a good record against Tottenham as well. So yeah, I'd back him for a goal at the weekend, certainly.
I think that's what it's 100% right. You know, it's definitely a certainty to be on the plane for the Euros this summer. But I'm looking at it and looking at his numbers, and I think he's played his way, for me, into a starting lineup for England in the Euros this year. And I would actually play him alongside or just above Harry Kane in the starting lineup for England. Maybe a Foden on the left, Saka on the right, and then Kane just in behind Ollie Watkins. I really think that would work wonders for England in the Euros this year. And I think what a player you have in your hands with Ollie Watkins. So I want to thank you so much for coming on today, Dan. Do you want to let the people know where they can find you?
I mean, some people say that you can find me in too many places. Yeah, I do my own Villa stuff. I freelance for Sky. I do a fair bit for them, and I'm doing a fair bit with TalkSport too at the moment as well. So yeah, my Twitter is the place where you see what I'm doing, because I plug what I'm doing relentlessly. So yeah, at Dan Bardell is the place. But yeah, I've you know, from doing this stuff, that you can find yourself into some really fortunate positions, and I'm lucky enough now that off the back of what I've done with my Villa stuff, I've been able to carve a career in sports media, and there's nothing better to do. So yeah, I've had loads of support over the years, and yeah, love doing what I've been doing.
Well, thanks a lot once again for coming on, Dan. Let's hope you don't still have that smile on your face come 3 o'clock on Sunday, but we'll speak to you very soon. Thank you.